Welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside the KDKA studios following a Steeler win today. It was 15-10 your final score, a big one in the AFC North, which saw Cincinnati, as you just saw on KDKA and the extended coverage of CBS, they lose to the Jets. So the NFL is as crazy as it's ever been. Bob Pompeani and Chris Hoke, Bro 76. Chris Hoke is here. Let's talk real quick before we get to the post-game interviews. We have a lot coming up. You're going to hear from T.J. Watt. You're going to hear from Najee Harris, who had a really good game and an impact on this game. You're going to hear from Ben Roethlisberger and, of course, Mike Tomlin coming up shortly. But, Chris, Pat Freiermuth has become the number one target, and rightfully so. And I thought he bailed them out on a drive. It was first and goal from the 2 to complete a 13-play, 83-yard drive. I was hoping 4 straight runs.
I know
Najee Harris.
You were all upset about that.
But that throw was, it was in tough coverage.
Yes.
And Freiermuth made a beautiful catch, and that turned out to be the game.
We've been talking a lot about combat catches, and that was a combat catch because it wasn't a great throw, Bob. 4th down, it had to be made. The Steelers would be down by a point. Freiermuth went and took it right off the shoulder of the defender, stayed with it, pulled it in, got those 2 feet down, touchdown. The Steelers are up right there, 15-10, because they could not convert the 2-point conversion. But from there on out, the Steelers led with the victory.
Some fancy footwork there by Freiermuth, and an alliteration, but a big one today for him. And he normally makes catches. And another guy who really has emerged is Zach Gentry, which puts Eric Ebron in a very tenuous situation. We'll talk more about that. But right now, let's go to Cleveland. You're going to hear from head coach Mike Tomlin following a 5-point win on the road.
I'm just really appreciative of the efforts of the guys in that locker room there. Everybody just played a selfless game. They put the collective in front of personal agendas, man, and we fought. And that's the only way you get out of those environments, particularly with some of the adversity that we face today, some of which was created by us, some of which was created by me. The fake field goal, man, was a bad call because we poorly executed it. And so I take responsibility for that. I appreciate the guys backing my play and fighting for 60 minutes and delivering victory and making it a side note. Awesome win. Hopefully we grow from this. Every time you step in the stadiums, you do. It's good to grow when you're doing so with the victory. Boz is injured, obviously, in the concussion protocol. Balaj, I think, has some ribs. Other than that, just natural bumps and bruises associated with play. Can't say enough about the efforts of the guys today. The run game component of the game was going to be big. We had to stop their run. We had to run it. And largely, I think we answered the call in that regard, and I think that's more than any reason why we were victorious. Questions?
Mike, what was the secret to stopping, or at least continue?
There's no secret sauce. You got to come off blocks. You got to hit and wrap and make tackles. You got to get multiple people to the football. We did that today.
Did you think you forced them to pass maybe more than they were comfortable?
I don't know what their intentions were. I know what our intentions were. We were trying to minimize Nick Chubb. We'll never know, will we?
What did you see that led you to make the call for the
We were just playing to win, man. We were playing aggressively. Ball was on the left hash. We had a look that we liked. We just didn't execute it very well. The ball wasn't snapped in a timely manner. It allowed them to take a picture of it. And when that happens, you're not going to be successful. But, again, I take responsibility for it. I shouldn't have called it unless we were ready to run it with detailed execution, and it's obvious that we weren't. And so that's on me. I was aware of it. Yes, I hope that you never have to use it, but I was aware of it.
Mike, both your touchdowns were scored by your rookies way ahead of us. Can you talk about their maturation, how far they've gone?
We've all talked quite a bit about their maturation throughout this process. We got 4 rookies playing significant roles on our offense. It wasn't fluid sledding early on. We've seen consistent signs of improvement. Maybe you guys will start believing us. Man, I just, not only those guys, but just it's a collective. Man, that's an awesome run team, and they really challenge you. And largely, I thought we stood up. The only time we didn't is schematics when we were trying to catch play pass, and I was putting the defense in less than ideal circumstances. But when I put them in run, stop, and structure, they stopped the run all day, and so they deserve credit for that.
Mike, how about your quarterback? He loves to win in Cleveland. And he didn't have a kicker. Does that change what he's doing?
No, that doesn't. Hey, any of you guys that know Ben, that doesn't change his mentality. He plays like we got no kicker anyway. He's an Ohio boy, man. He's trying to win when he comes home.
And how would you describe the way that your team showed
It's days like today, man, that gives you a kind of indication of maybe what you could be. And, we'll continue to write that story positively or negatively, but today was a good day.
Like, how did you change as coaches when you knew Boz was out, so there was going to be no fourth down kicks, no extra points, nothing like that? How did that change mentality going forward?
I don't know that it did. You guys that watch us intimately and know how we practice, man, we are practicing aggressive nature with a bunch of situational ball. And so I don't think that anybody, I don't think anybody had any level of concern about where we were. I think we had 9 two-point plays on our ready list today because we just got that level of respect for that element of situational ball. So we were not less than prepared.
Very interesting talking about the injury to Chris Boswell, which we will talk more about here a little later in the program. But I was wondering, Presley Harvin, he's a kicker, he's a punter. You would think that he'd have some experience, but the other component of that is you need a holder. Yeah. Cam Sutton apparently is that holder, but they don't necessarily work on that all that much to be absolutely certain. I wonder at what point, how close do you get if the game's in the balance? Do you try to kick, or what do you do?
It looked to me like he struggled kicking the ball on that kickoff there in the second half. So it'd be a little scary there for them to try that. I believe they would have kept going for that two-point conversion, going for fourth downs, because they could not rely on Presley Harvin, the third, kicking those field goals and feeling comfortable that he would make it. And that's a difficult situation to be in right now when you're in an NFL game without a kicker.
We have a lot coming up. We're going to hear from Ben Roethlisberger. You're going to hear from Pat Freiermuth, the number 1 tight end now on this team. You're going to hear from Naji Harris as well. We had a big day at the office. All that coming up, plus your calls a little later right here as we continue our postgame coverage of a Steelers 15-10 win, which now has the Cleveland Browns in the basement of the AFC North. We're back right after this.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani and Chris Hoke with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Be sure to join us for the number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's on tonight after the late news on KDKA TV. Right now, let's take a look at the AFC North standings because they can change and things are going up and down. The Ravens, by virtue of not playing, remain at the top now at 5-2 because the Bengals lost to the Jets. And say what you want about the Jets, but they also beat the Titans earlier this year, so they have 2 big wins. They beat the Bengals and they beat the Titans. The Steelers move up to 4-3. The Browns are 4-4. Chris, the importance of this game is big because not only is it in division on the road, but you got 2 games coming up at home that they really should win.
The Steelers cannot afford to lose any more division games, so this was a big win to go on the road and get this. But the Steelers have 2 winnable games in the next 2 weeks against the Bears and the Lions, and they can make a move into the top spot in the division with 2 big division games coming up after that. And so they can put themselves in a really, really good position. 3-game winning streak, that builds confidence, Bob. And as you continue to win, you can look at this and build a rapport with each other and have confidence in each other. And that's what keeps this thing going. And they talk about stacking wins. Coach Tomlin says that's what they're doing right now.
Especially after 2 losses at home early in the season, both AFC losses. They can't afford to lose those anymore. All right, Pat Freiermuth was the star of this game, made a beautiful catch, great toe tap. Baryshnikov would have been proud. Or should I say Gene Kelly here in Pittsburgh. He would have been proud of that toe tapping. 4 catches, 44 yards, including the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, you told me before the play what to run, and it was kind of weird leverage how the defender was playing it, but knew how to get outside and run to the back pylon and just saw the ball in there and made a play. Oh yeah. I mean, that was my issue in camp, and I think one of the preseason games was not getting my foot in. I was used to college obviously with the 1 foot in, and I've been working that after practice and stuff like that. So I'm happy that it paid off in the game.
They came out early in the game and you were like through the first 4 or 5 passes. Was that part of the game plan? Hey, let's get this matchup here, or was there something?
I mean, it was just kind of the where I was on the field and what they were kind of doing on defense. I think whatever. Ben looks for mismatches, and he's great at that. So I think he was looking at my matchup and saw a couple of mismatches on there.
Now, what was it for you guys and yourself as they go to the middle of the field where you guys did?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, obviously had a couple catches over the middle of the field, and Zach had a big third down conversion over the middle of the field. And when we find that middle of the field and utilize us, our offense moves, and I'm really happy with how me and Zach played there.
Now, what was it like playing the second half knowing you didn't have a kicker?
Yeah, it was weird because when Najee scored, I was like, why are we going for 2? Like, it's 10-9. And then we backed up. We got the penalty, and we backed up, and I was like, why are we still going for 2? So I came off the sideline, and they were like, we don't have a kicker. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So, yeah, I was confused. But
What can you say about just the growth in your class for you?
yeah, I mean, we're playing big-time football. Obviously the 4 guys on offense. We played at big-time places, though, so we're used to big-time games. And, I think it's just, we continue to build confidence each week. Coach Tomlin does a great job in practice to, make us feel comfortable with the game plan and everything like that. So, I think it just goes back to college and where we played, and we played some big-time games.
He is emerging. There's no question about that. Pat Freiermuth right now, a big target, especially over the middle. Chris, we've talked about this over the middle in previous weeks. We haven't seen a large part of the passing going over the middle. Now today there were 3 of them. He had one for 22 yards and one for 11, in addition to that touchdown, which we saw, which only went for 2 yards. But it was 4th and 2 and a very big catch, concentration with the footwork. But still, he is a major component now of this offense, and I'd like to see more of it, wouldn't you?
I would like to see more. I mean,
too.
only 4 catches today and a touchdown. I love what he does with the football. He was able to make a couple guys miss today, Bob, making them miss and get up and getting the first down. He has to be a guy in the red zone that the Steelers go to and throw it up high to him. Where I'd like to see him improve, and we're talking about him as an overall balanced player, is in the run game. The Steelers will continue to improve up front, but if he can solidify the edge and knock that defensive end off the ball, Naji Harris will even get more yards, and they'll be more effective in the run game.
Yeah, the run game is another component of this offense that's emerging. It's progressing slowly, but we'll talk more about that because the offensive line, at times had difficulty with Myles Garrett, but who doesn't? But overall, they seem to be, a group that's gelling at the right time. We'll see as time goes on. And this is even without Zach Manor, who was inactive today, which is a little bit strange. We'll talk about that and more. We got more interviews on the way, plus your calls, so don't go away. We want tweets also at KDBump, at HokeyBro76. All right, here on our postgame coverage of the Steelers' big win on the road in Cleveland. 15-10, your final score. Steelers get the 4-3. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at your JP Roofing final stats of the day. Chris, you can sum it all up. But the bottom line is the Steelers played a good road game. They had pretty good time of possession, no turnovers, even though a lot of penalties. But I think most of all, they did what they had to do, especially shutting down Cleveland's run game.
2 things that stand out to me there, Bob. Rush attempts and yards. You have the #1 rushing offense in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers went all out to shut it down. They out-rushed them and out-attempted them. Then look at the turnovers. When you win the turnover margin, no matter how small it is, you have a good chance of winning the game, and that's what happened today.
Real quick, before we go and hear from the quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, I want to ask you about their quarterback. Baker Mayfield played today. Clearly, he was banged up. He still started. I think that was a mistake. I thought so at the beginning of the day. I thought Case Keenum, in this instance, would have been better for them. Did you?
I do, because he could have made those intermediate throws better and could have moved the ball around. Baker Mayfield can push the ball downfield better, but it didn't hurt the Steelers today. But Baker Mayfield, just because he's the #1 overall draft pick, he's the starter. He's always going to get that opportunity to come back if he's healthy or somewhat healthy. I believe that with Case Keenum, they would have had a better shot at winning this game, and quite frankly, they may have won the game today.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you saw limited play for their wide receivers. Odell Beckham Jr. just 1 catch for 6 yards.
Not good enough.
Not good enough, no. All right, I'll tell you who was good enough. Ben Roethlisberger when he had to be. He had a 2-point conversion rushing opportunity taken off the boards, but he was 22 of 34, 266 and a touchdown, and he's speaking right now in Cleveland.
Got a lot of heart. And I told the guys that before the game. I said, you can make up for talent. You can make up for things with heart. And I thought they showed a lot of heart today.
But from your own standpoint, I see you were pretty excited for the field.
No, I control my emotions. I just told those guys, I said, don't ever, I told Naj and I just told the line, don't ever take a win against these guys in this stadium for granted, ever. Because it's always hard fought. It's something special. I've played a lot of games here, and I don't take any of them for granted.
And what did you think of the play call for him on the 2-point conversion?
Which one?
The first one.
My rushing one? Yeah. Well, I was the 4th or 5th option on that. They had a bunch of guys over to the left, so that option was out, and then Chase was the next option. Right. And I still was going to force it to him, and I don't know. I'm just crazy, I guess. I wish it would have counted. That would have been a great story.
Disappointed
Yes, no stat.
What about the final play of the game? You go to the sidelines, hey, just run around as long as you can? Or?
That's kind of what it was. It was how much time we were going to do that play before, obviously before the penalty. It was just kind of waste as much time as you can. The clock doesn't stop till the ball hits the ground. Probably was a little too close to inbounds. I thought I threw it plenty far, but maybe I should have gave the dog pound a souvenir or something.
Ben, Mike said that you play like you don't have a kicker anyway. But how do things change when you know that Boz is out and you guys are working with an emergency unit to kick field goals?
It's I tell guys all the time, everyone wants to be a quarterback till you got to throw the ball and someone's about to hit you. I'm glad Boz is okay, but that's a situation that no one wants to be in. You're sitting there watching that game go. The game transpire, and you're like, okay, if they score, we're down by 2, we don't have a field goal, like, what are we going to do? So, you just got to go into the mindset, you got to go for it on 4th down, and you got to get ready to go for a 2-point play.
And Tomlin said you're an Ohio boy and you came here to win. You're 12-2-1 here.
Nice. I don't take it for granted. Woke up this morning, it was a cloudy, gray day. And then the sun came out, and I don't remember the last time the sun was shining during a game here. But it sure did feel good to get the win.
And it's hard to tell from the press box, but it seemed like you guys weren't helping Dan Moore out very much to that side. That's a rookie against Myles Garrett. Mm-hmm.
No, I've been joking with Dan all week, and I just told him now he can finally sleep. Myles is a special talent. And I told him, after the game that he can keep the tombstone in there, but I'll take the win in his yard. But, he's special. I thought Dan did a great job. I think Myles had 1 sack, maybe 2. I don't even know. But, the one, it's tough. You ask a rookie especially, to go against that guy, and what he did today was pretty special. I can't say enough about the line. Run game, pass pro, they're the heart of this group.
Dan, you're mentioning Dan.
All right, that's Ben Roethlisberger talking about a lot of things, including Dan Moore. And I've been encouraged by watching him. It's tough for anyone to come in the NFL. Chris, you know this, regardless, even if you're first-round pick. And there are a lot of guys who were taken in the first round, tackles, offensive tackles, and not even playing because of injury and not doing all that well. This is a 4th-round pick, and he's been charged to be a left tackle. Arguably the toughest position to play. And I think overall he's really progressed week to week to week.
Yeah, when you're a left tackle, you're going against the best pass rushers in the NFL week after week. And he went out there today and playing against Myles Garrett, gave up 1 sack, did give up some QB hits. But overall, I thought he played pretty well. They didn't give him a lot of help, Bob. He was out there on an island a lot of the times. But what I loved was in the run game. He was moving defensive linemen. He was climbing to the second level, and that's what they like about him. There was a lot of talk about Zach Banner coming back and what was going to happen, moving Chooks back over to left tackle and Zach over to the right tackle. They like what they're seeing from this big fella, Dan Moore Jr., and so you're going to continue to see a lot more of him as he plays this way.
All right, we're going to take a break. Rich Walsh, who's in that locker room, had a tweet about Cam Heyward. When you win, you can do this. This is what he had to say about Pat Freiermuth. Quote, Freiermuth got a win in Ohio. It doesn't happen very often.
Love his play for attitude. I love that play.
Dogger against Ohio State versus.
Well, that was a big one last night, right?
Yeah, for them. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the controversial play on Chris Boswell. It's good to hear that Ben Roethlisberger said he thinks he's okay. We'll talk more about that when we come back. And coming up soon, your calls as well. Steelers win by scoring 6 in the 4th quarter. 15-10 your final score. They're 4-3. We're back after this.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, we're back, and we're taking a look at the NFL scoreboard, at least some interesting games. Of course, the Jets surprising the Bengals 34-31, so that drops Cincinnati to 5-3. Tennessee was down early, 14-zip. They come back, and you saw it here on KDKA. They beat the Colts 34-31, so they have a record of 6-2, tops in the AFC. And then the Bears, who were here next Monday night in Pittsburgh, they had a lead, and Jesse James scored a touchdown, but San Francisco comes back and beats them 33-22. One of the bigger games in this game, of course, and it had multiple effects, not just on the play itself, but on subsequently going for 2. So it was like a 4-point play at least, and who knows what it'll do in the future, but Chris Boswell is in concussion protocol. But I thought Mike Tomlin, you heard him, Chris, say it was a bad call because they weren't ready to execute it. He paid the price for that. And I thought it was a cheap shot. Not cheap shot, but it should have been penalized. And so did Gene Steratore from CBS. He tweeted this out immediately, and this is it. He said, even though Chris Boswell is a kicker by position, on this fake field goal attempt, he is a passer. A defender cannot hit the passer forcibly in the head or neck area. In my opinion, this should have been a 15-yard penalty for roughing. And I agree. It wasn't a targeting situation, but he did hit him up high. And, I contrast that with later I see Highsmith, who gets called for a roughing the passer on a play where he's just kind of standing there, and T.J. Watt pushes Baker Mayfield into him, and they call that. A lot of inconsistencies, but I thought that was a bad call by the official.
Yeah, it was a missed call. There were a lot of missed calls in this game. How about that call late in the game when Joe Hayden nailed the receiver out of bounds, 2 or 3 yards out of bounds, and they let it go?
How about Mayfield when he was
hit
late?
That's when he hit Baker. That was Joe Hayden. And so he hit Baker late, and they didn't throw the flag there. So it goes both ways. There are missed calls, but this one was big. And I think that Boswell, he's not a quarterback, so he doesn't know timing of when to get rid of the ball. Held on to the ball too long. And, again, it was a bad call because they didn't execute it. If they would have executed it, Bob, you know how it goes. This would have been a great call and great timing, but unfortunately it ended this way. Luckily, like Ben said in his interview, it's not as bad and he'll be okay.
Yeah, when I had that play, when it happened, I was just thinking a flashback to Sean Sweesom. Remember him in the Hall of Fame game trying to make a tackle and then he tore his ACL? I'm thinking to myself, you don't want your kicker, that kicker, who's the best in the NFL right now, at least percentage-wise, to be out extended period of time with a play like that. I thought he should have gotten rid of it earlier, or at least running out of bounds, do something.
Lesson learned.
No one would have held that against him if he was looking self-preservation first. At least I wouldn't have held that against him. It was not a good play, and it resulted in them having a kicker the rest of the day, but they win the game nonetheless. They have an extra day because, again, the Bears are here on Monday night, not Sunday. We're going to take a break. You're going to hear from Najee Harris, who was a busy, busy man in that backfield today. It's coming up next, so we continue live right here in the studios of KDKA TV following a Steelers 15-10 win.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you as we continue. Najee Harris came into this game as the NFL's leading rusher among rookies. He added to his total today, 26 carries, 91 yards. Impressive because there are a lot of hard yards in there, including a touchdown. We're going to go there now and hear from him in Cleveland.
High school and college, I think. Not NFL.
Can you walk us through that play?
The touchdown? Yeah, man, it was a power play. Pat came around, gave a good block, and helped me get lined up inside and be one-on-one with the safety. And from there, it was just me finishing out the run.
Knowing you guys don't have a kicker when Boswell goes down in the second half, how does that change the offensive mentality or what you guys are thinking as you're working through the drive?
Well, I mean, we was just really thinking was just converting on third downs when you just keep playing our ball. Making sure we have a short third down, short second down, so we don't got to be behind the sticks and have them play a different coverage. So I mean, obviously losing balls is bad, but we was just worried about just finishing out the game. Did I get it? No, not really. I mean, I know it's a rivalry there, but I mean, I'm just focused on winning the game, man. I really don't care about the rivalry. I'm just trying to win. That's what I'm here for. Is to help win games. So we won the game. That's all that matters.
Is this the best balance you guys have had? The best mix of running pass back and forth?
Yeah, you could say that. We're just trying to keep stacking bricks, though. Obviously we're going to keep trying to be more, run the ball and obviously doing the passes and RPOs stuff we're doing. We're just trying to, find our identity. We're finding our identity in what we do, and we're just going to keep pushing forward, stacking bricks.
Roger, can you look around and feel like the rookies are growing up a little bit?
Yes, yeah, good question too. Yeah, 100%. I mean, you saw Pat make the play, and Dan and KG, on the O-line, they're improving. I mean, Dan, one up against Myles Garrett. Obviously, that's one of the best DNs in the NFL. And for him to hold his ground, and to do as good as he did, all of them are really making. Me too. It's all making a lot of good strides forward, and that's what we need going forward. The more games that we play, the more experience that we get, the better we get each game, and you can be more proud of them and actually and O-line, of how good they're doing and improving. All of us actually as an offense.
There's so much talk about the Browns running game. You guys to show that match that.
Like I said, they obviously have a good running game, but we're just trying to focus on what we do. Obviously come in here and win the game, but we try to make a point of us running the ball. They got a really, really good front, and I think that the O-line did an amazing job of handling that. So, we're just worrying about us,
Yeah, worrying about them, and they're doing a pretty good job. You mentioned all the young people, and when you think about this, how the young people, you got a rookie tight end, you got a rookie running back, you got a rookie left tackle, you got a rookie center, you got a second-year left guard. I mean, this is not an easy thing, but it slowly but surely is coming together, and it's nice to see. And especially, I would think they're going to rely on this run game more and more, and they should.
Well, I wasn't surprised that coming out of the Steelers headquarters out the bye week, there was a lot of optimism. They were 3-3, and everybody was a little worried about the Steelers moving forward, but I didn't sense that out of the South Side. I believe they are very encouraged because being 3-3, when starting out with 4 starters on the offense, they felt that they were improving every week and they'd get stronger and stronger as the season went on. But when you talk about Najee, Bob, 26 carries for 91 yards, there were tough yards. The one to me that stood out above all the great runs he had, 4th and 1, the Steelers were down in this game. He got it at the 49-yard line. He got hit in the backfield. What'd he do? He fought through that, and he got the first down, just barely, but enough to get the first down, and they went down and scored to take the lead.
Right, that play, without it, they don't get a touchdown on it, and it was all second ever because originally when he was hit, he wasn't going to get it. It was. And I like him. He's a very business-like man. You know, he just goes out there, doesn't complain about anything. Once the ball does whatever possible the coaches ask for. Very professional, and I think they like that about him coming out of Alabama as well. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Cam Heyward is going to join us, and then eventually we'll take your calls here too. So don't go away. If you want to opine or you want to tweet us, let us know. We want to talk about that until 6 o'clock right here live on KDKA TV.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
Your calls and tweets are coming up shortly. Right now, it's time to look at the road ahead, brought to you by your Neighborhood Ford Store. So, Chris, what do you see?
I see right now 2 games the Steelers have to win, a 3-4 Bear team, an 0-8 Detroit Lions team. They've got to win the games that they're supposed to win because the next 3 games you have at LA Chargers, at Cincinnati, and then at home against the Ravens. AFC games, 2 of those are division games. So they've got to win these games so they can stay in the hunt for that number one position in the division going into those very, very difficult games down in November and early December.
All right, Cam Heyward is standing by with his comments after the game.
Stay in our damn gaps, get off blocks, allow our linebackers to flow. Our corners play physical. It was a collective effort. Bugs, Wormley, TJ, Highsmith, Henry Mondu, Schobert, Devin Bush, and then our corners coming down. Cam Sutton did a great job today. Enzo, right?
You mentioned collective, Cam. Just your reaction overall to the effort that the entire team showed, especially in Boston.
Man, what a wild into the first half. We didn't make it easy on ourselves. When Boz goes down and I see Presley start kicking kickoffs, I was like, oh, hell. But, man, our offense came to work. Freiermuth got a win in Ohio. Doesn't happen often. But I'm throwing shots today. But, man, it was a good game.
There, a little couldn't resist. Those Ohio State guys. They got to do it anytime.
They had a big wager on last night's game, though, Bob.
Yeah, there's no question. Hey, I want to wrap this up before we take your phone calls here. Just talking about winning with defense. The Steelers have done it for years. I look at last year, and Craig McConnell, our producer, put this stat together. Last year at this time, they had 26 sacks, 9 takeaways. They were 6-0 at the time. This year, at least coming into this game, 15 sacks, only 5, and they were 3-3 prior to this game. But today what we saw was they didn't turn the ball over. They had a lot of sacks, and they got a turnover, and a very big one. Schobert strips it away. T.J. Watt recovers. That's a big component of how they have to play.
Well, that's the recipe to winning for the Pittsburgh Steelers is a big-time defensive effort. And remember, last year we talked a lot about the Steelers relied too much on the Steelers' defense, but the Steelers' defense needs to play big for the Steelers to win. And when you come up and put pressure on the quarterback, you get sacks, it puts less pressure on these defensive backs to have to cover for so long, and they're not giving up that big play. So they need to continue to get after the quarterback. I want to see more, Bob, out of Alex Highsmith. Not seeing enough production right now. Right. But T.J. Watt, he's a man among boys.
And if you look at the 2 impressive wins on the road, Buffalo and Cleveland, the one common component was stout defense. And they're going to have to continue to do that along the way as this offense grows. throughout the course of the season. We're going to take a break, come back, and we're going to switch over to a special Steelers edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You call us at 412-575-2600. You can tweet us at KDPump at HokeyBro76. Next, right here on KDKA.